Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Leaders Beyond the Stage. I'm your host, Robin Wong. Today, I'm very excited to introduce you to a very special guest, Anthony Hollis.
Hi.
Okay.
How are you?
Hi. How are you, Anthony? By profession, Anthony is a qualified vet, caring for animals in critical moments. His special hobby is the practice of a unique form of martial art, the BJJ, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What's amazing about Anthony is that he recently became a world champion, competing and excelling at the age of 57.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing, Anthony.
Thanks.
And in this episode, we'll dive into his journey of becoming a world champion and the lesson BJJ has taught him. Okay, welcome, Anthony.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So Anthony, you'd like to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I came to Hong Kong in 2003, which was a pretty interesting time because that was right at the end of SARS. So I remember coming in on the plane and everybody suddenly put on a mask while we were still in the air. And so did we as well, because
Yes.
everybody was doing it. And then Hong Kong was very different during SARS. Of course, there was nobody on the trains and the streets were quiet, so it was a strange introduction. So yeah, I got a job that was a 6-month job, working as a small animal vet, so dogs and cats, and doing emergency work at night.
Right.
And that's turned into 12 months, and then I got another job which I worked at for about 15 years doing emergency. And then my wife is also a vet, so while I was doing that, she opened 2 clinics. And now I work for her, basically.
Oh, okay. All right.
which is good because I don't have to work much.
I see.
So yeah, that's
not a tough boss, huh? Not as tough.
No, she's a very good boss.
I see.
She makes me say that.
I see. So what makes you? I mean, you come here because of a job, or basically because you like Hong Kong, or?
Yeah, well, we stayed because we love Hong Kong.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
I guess the longer you stay, the more jewels that you find in Hong Kong, such as the gym that I go to, the 2 gyms, and
Right.
different coaches. You meet a lot of skilled people that help you along the way in your journey, especially with kids as well. And so, yeah, I just love Hong Kong, and I think we have no plan to leave, actually. Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't have a plan to leave either. In some respect, I'm not a similar journey, but I also passionate about martial art. I did a Muay Thai and then previous Wing Chun and karate.
Yeah.
Fantastic for a long time. So, Anthony, maybe you'd like to say what makes you so passionate about BJJ?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the main thing that I love about BJJ is the constant learning, the challenge to your mind as much as your body. It's it's never ending, the learning process. And you think you might master something, and then suddenly you'll get a little tip, and you go, and then it makes a big difference, just one move, and then you learn a new move. So it's just a fantastic learning process. So I love that part. And then the physical part as well, of course. So you get a good workout, especially in Hong Kong in the summer months with the heat training, because we leave the windows open. I used to make them close the windows and turn the air condition on.
Yes.
When I first started, but once I got fitter, we opened the windows.
I see.
So yeah, that's the 2 main things.
Right. So the physical, training, and also.
Yeah, and then of course there's a real camaraderie with combat sports, as I'm sure you know.
Yes.
There's a lot of respect there, and people, they become family.
Yes.
You call each other brothers and sisters, and it's a real family type of sport, I think.
Yes, I think that's the thing for me is just similar, that you meet a lot of new people, new friends.
Yeah.
And I actually intrigued by to say that you're a world champion and say that you still have learned new things all the time. Huh?
Oh, yeah. So the world champion is, obviously, it's broken up into different belts, first
Yes.
of all.
Yeah.
So I was blue belt
Yeah.
when I competed
Yes.
last year.
Yeah.
And then there's weight divisions. So
Yes.
there are around every 10 pounds, there's a change in the division. And then age, this is one of the reasons to do worlds, actually, because they have all the way up to Masters 7. So every 5 years, there's a different division, a bracket. So that allows you to compete against people that are on exactly the same level as you. Otherwise, I competed once in Thailand, for example, and I was maybe 55 and I was competing against 40-year-olds, and there's just not enough people to have as many divisions as what you can get in the bigger competitions in North America, for example.
Right.
So, yeah, that was also part of the reason to travel all the way to America. The advantage there is I got to compete against people who are exactly the same as me.
Same age, same weight as
Same
well.
weight, same age, same belt.
That's a lot better. The way I find about BJJ, because I'm very intrigued about, it became very famous because of its unique fighting ability. Particularly, I was reading this book about Rickson Gracie, a guy who won so many fights.
Yeah, obviously the Gracies are very famous with Jiu-Jitsu. And then it sort of started taking off, I think, in the 90s in California and got developed a lot there, obviously in Brazil as well. But yeah, there was a real growth in the 90s, and then, of course, with MMA and people winning with jiu-jitsu moves, and so they got a lot of people interested in it, so then it's become more and more popular. There's a lot of gyms now.
Right, because now I will say that even no matter, particularly UFC, right, in the MMA,
UFC.
No matter what styles of martial arts you are specializing, you need to learn or know the ground fighting and also the MMA grappling.
Yeah, grappling, boxing, Muay Thai, of course, they're all the main parts of UFC.
Yes, because when I was reading his story, Rickson Gracie, he was not that a big guy, right? And he was sometimes fighting people over 200 pounds and still beat them. I mean, what was the uniqueness about the BJJ that you can actually leverage your physical ability to actually overcome people
That's a good question.
Much bigger?
Yeah, the idea of jiu-jitsu, I guess, is to bring your opponent to the ground.
Right.
So by doing that, then you take away their power. So the analogy would be, have somebody throw a javelin standing up. Now ask them to throw the javelin when kneeling down. You're just not going to have any power. So it takes away the power to get knocked out. That's, I guess, where the defensive part of it comes, and how to minimize your chance of getting knocked out, basically.
I see.
And it just developed from there.
Right. Well, I did took a few lessons before, right? Okay. And I was very intrigued by this particular form of martial arts. Actually, I find it quite complex that it takes time to master, right? I mean, when you start, you just learn the basic. It takes a long time,
Yeah. You really need good coaches, of course, and people that know what they're doing, and people that are training white belts all the time, and so they can take you through it slowly. And like for me, I did a lot of private classes. I wanted to minimize my risk of getting injured,
right?
So I just used private classes mostly, and I can still remember my first lesson and just thinking, this is just so uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel so strange. But yeah, you just keep going. And you just think, I'm never going to remember this. I just can't remember it. Every time you go back, it's just, it feels like you're learning it again and again and again. But of course, just repetition and eventually just muscle memory. And then now you have moves that you don't seem to have to think about it. The move just comes naturally. But if you have a break, then I go back to struggling a little bit. So I think it's a very important thing about jiu-jitsu. It's very difficult if you stop and then try and pick it up again and stop and try and pick it up again. So it's something that needs consistency because of that constant learning. So yeah, I found I had to have breaks. One time I tore a meniscus running, actually, not doing jiu-jitsu, and I had to have a few months off. And then again, it feels like you're a white belt again when you restart. And so it's consistency, and then, of course, the going more than 1 hour a week to a class is, 1 hour a week to a class is not going to get you very far. But it's a good start, sure. But if you want to progress, of course, it's like anything, the more time you can put into it, the better.
So from your journey, from sort of doing 1 hour a week, all the way to become a world champion, I mean, what has been the process like?
Yeah, so there's obviously the combination of the strength part as well that you need to do. So not only did I was training, let's go back to the start. I was training 1 hour a week right at the start just to get used to it and go from there. And then that went to three times a week, and then I added in gym work, strength and mobility at Joint Dynamics. And so that was 1 hour a week as well. So then I progressed to about 5 hours a week of training. And then I felt that I had more opportunity to do more. So I progressed to 2 hours of each of those trainings. So I was doing 4 hours in the gym and around 6 hours at jiu-jitsu. And then leading up to competition, then I would increase the jiu-jitsu to 3 hours each session. So yeah, that was my progression.
I see.
Started pretty slowly. Wasn't very serious about it. And coaches could see that when I started going more, that I was getting better. And yeah, the gym that I go to, Esparta, they were very, they like to encourage you to compete, just to push you that further. And it does. it changes the way you train. It changes your attitude to the whole sport once you start competing because you have something to aim for.
Right.
And you have to get your weight to a certain level because you have to elect which category you're in. And so, yeah, it's good at getting the weight off, keeping the weight off and keeping you disciplined when you start competing.
From outside, when I see two people practicing or sparring in jiu-jitsu, it looks quite physical, right? How do you avoid having injury?
I think that it comes down to knowing technique and knowing what's dangerous. You know, that comes with time. That's where, again, what the reason of doing private classes for me was to minimise that risk. When you go to a gym you don't know, for example, you can come up against an 18-year-old who's, you know, you can get injured, put it that way.
Right.
It's just knowing what can get you injured and then stopping and having the confidence to tell someone that you don't want to. There's rolling and then there's flow rolling. So flow rolling is you don't go as hard as you go. You minimise how hard you go. So you might roll at 50%.
Okay.
And so you don't put full pressure on. So it's more about learning the moves and having someone resist a little bit. So that helps as well. But I'm not very good at flow rolling. I can't control myself.
I see. So you have to tap, right? You can also tap if you feel you are being overpowered or something like that.
Yeah, so there's tap. So you can tap with your hand and you can just yell. If you yell, that's called tapping as well. So,
I see.
So sometimes, they get you, like they might do a wrist lock, and my coaches love wrist locks. Not on me, but every now and then they just let me feel the pain of a wrist lock, which is, you won't have time to tap, you just yell.
I see. Yeah.
So there's that, One of my worst injuries was I tore a hamstring.
Right.
And I was just in a position where I was pulling my leg back when I should have been going forward. So just knowing little things like that, and because I was pulling my leg back as hard as I could, thinking I could get out of this position I was in, but there was no way to get out of that position the way I was trying. So, just it comes with time and knowing your body and knowing who you're training with, minimising your injuries.
Right. So you mentioned the mobility training, right?
Oh, yeah.
The dynamics, right?
Yeah. So obviously jiu-jitsu, you've got your legs and arms are moving everywhere and putting, triangles, and suddenly you've got to move your leg over someone's head. You have to have mobility. Increased mobility helps a lot. Of course, guys my age are not doing the moves of an 18-year-old. It looks completely different. I mean, 18-year-olds just, to me, look like two snakes fighting. They're just constantly moving, rolling, whereas, you see guys my age, one guy gets on top, one guy gets on bottom, and that's where they tend to stay for the whole 5 minutes.
Right.
But it's still, of course, mobility helps. So that's where, a friend of mine, Andrew Cox, he's part owner of Joint Dynamics. So I went to him and he hooked me up with Luke Davey, was my coach. Mm-hmm. And he does Muay Thai. So he knew a lot about what I needed to do. He competes as well. So he knew a lot.
Muay Thai?
Yeah, in Muay Thai.
Oh, okay.
So he knew a lot about getting ready for competition and what I needed to get strong at and what mobility I needed as well. So we worked on things like grip strength, obviously pulling strength, and then hip mobility, strength under pressure. So like doing a lunge but on your toes and holding, and then getting ready for competition. We started doing a lot of cardio. That's when I started going 2 hours each session. So we would do an hour of lifting and then 30, 45 minutes of cardio work. So the assault bike, I quite like the assault bike. You know, the air bike with it, where it moves, the arms move.
Right.
And it's the resistance is the air. And we would do, for example, the Norwegian 4x4 protocol, which is 4 minutes on, 4 minutes off, and using a heart rate monitor to get you in the right zone. So it became quite technical, actually. And my nickname at the gym was Wolverine. Probably because I'm Australian. Certainly not because I'm good looking.
I see.
But I used to growl and grunt a lot. They had to move the assault bike, because there's a lot of physios in the same area. They had to move the assault bike into the corner.
Assault bike, huh?
Yeah, the assault bike, it's like an air bike, or they're called. So, it's just the arms move, and it's air resistance.
I see.
Yeah, you can really get your heart rate up using that. So, 4x4 was 4 minutes going as hard as you could, and then 4 minutes rest. And then we varied that a lot. We used the rowing machine as well, and to do that, and as well as other things like push and pull. The what's it called? That they use? I can't remember. It's like a trolley, but it's not a trolley.
Oh, okay. You put the weight and push the weight. Yeah. Strengthen your.
That's really hard on your cardio.
Right. Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of MMA, competitors. They all do that a lot.
Neck strengthening was a thing we worked on as well. And then, of course, because of my hamstring injury, we worked on bulletproofing my hamstrings, we spent a lot of work just starting with basics, bridges, and just building, getting the strength up. So it was I think it was a huge part of the worlds was having that strength. These guys there are incredibly strong, and if you couldn't match them, you're going to go down pretty quick.
Right. Because still, even though you leverage also deflection, but still, when you have two person of similar standard, then the certain part of it is you need to have strength. I think that's similar to Muay Thai as well. So when you have somebody same weight, but the guy who's stronger and hit harder, you always win. So. Do you think there's a age limitation for BJJ?
It's probably a little bit of age limitation for everybody, but that's different for everybody.
Right.
So, there are really some old guys still doing it in their 60s, 70s, and even older. And again, but I don't think there are many people taking it up in their 60s. But
I see.
But. There would be some. There are some white belts that are in their 60s that have just started.
But if they have been doing all the time, so they can sort of adjust themselves as they age, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot different techniques for as you get older.
Okay.
You just don't do the same moves as 18-year-olds.
I see.
So the limitations, not really. I mean, it's just. I think, but it's a lot of work. You can't just turn up. Having never not doing much sport, not being fit, and expecting for it to be easy. You've got to do the mobility work, the stretching, the recovery. It all becomes more important the older you get. But it's obviously important no matter what age you are. But I think we probably spend a lot more time recovering.
I see. Yeah. Do you go massage a lot? Do you have or just?
I not a lot. I don't really like massages, so I don't do a lot of them.
Right.
But I got a massage gun, so I use that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I find that really useful. And then just stretching and getting good sleep and eating well, of course. And that's another advantage of doing jiu-jitsu and competing. You become a bit more. You watch what you eat. You don't drink as much alcohol. You can't be having half a bottle of wine and then training for 3 hours the next day. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense as well when you do that. So it does helps with all things that are good for your health, I guess.
Right. I think as you get fitter and stronger, you always become more aware that you need to keep yourself healthy if you want to keep it that way. Yeah.
So it comes into what's part of the motivation to do jiu-jitsu is about longevity, and the number one factor for longevity is exercise. So I found that I loved jiu-jitsu for the reasons we talked about, and it's great to be able to do it and do more of it and still keep enjoying it. It becomes a grind, of course, when you're doing that many hours. It's,
right.
For me, it was more. I like the Goggins. There's no such thing.
Oh, David Goggins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Forget motivation.
Yes.
Just do it. That Nike's famous. Just do it. For me, that's. I didn't think about, do I want to go or not go? I just went.
Yes. I think that's the thing. For me, it's always that you establish a good habit and routine so that, you become automatic and you don't think about it. And that is so important. So what's your normal? I mean, you train in the morning or you train?
Normally morning. So 9 a.m. to 11. And then, if I did an extra hour, sometimes I'd go an hour earlier, 8 to 11.
Right.
That's in between the classes, so the coaches can give me privates.
I see.
So luckily, like I said, I work for my wife, so I could have flexible hours and I had a lot of time off work to train. The aim for the next year would be to do a little bit more work, a little bit less jiu-jitsu, and then see about how much training I can get in. We're thinking about competing again in August.
This year? Oh, okay.
Yeah, now I'm purple belt, so I've gone up one belt, so it would be a lot tougher, but it's still... Again, just getting there would be the aim. I
used to do karate, right?
Yes.
And then you have also a belt system. Yes. It seems that the jiu-jitsu, the belt system is quite tough to just change the color once. Because when I was first training in BJJ, the instructor also was a purple belt.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking, shouldn't he be a black belt automatically? Because most people become black belt, even karate after about 3 or 4 years, right? What's the ranking system like in the BJJ, in the belt system?
Yeah, it's very strict. So first of all, there's a minimum 2 years at a belt. You can't be promoted unless you get special permission or unless you win worlds. So that means most people take about 10 years to get black if they're going consistently and don't stop. But there is obviously some extremely good athletes that might be a black belt in judo, and so they can get special dispensation, or they might win at welds, and then they are allowed to still got to apply to jump belts sort of thing. Like Andy Gaval's daughter, I think she's a black belt at only 20 years old or 18 years old or something. She's gone very quick because she won welds and won welds again last year actually as a black belt. So
I see.
So yeah, someone like that can get through it quicker. But she's been doing it since a kid, and her dad's one of the best coaches in the world, if not the best.
I see. Well, I always think that I mean, the color of the belt doesn't really matter that much because how good you are,
It's funny. Yeah, some people want that belt, and a lot of people, when they get the next belt, go, I don't want it yet. I'm not ready to go to that belt. I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, so it's everybody feels a bit different about it. So yeah, everyone's journey is different. It's what our coaches are constantly telling us. Just if you get promoted, you deserve it. Take it. If you don't get promoted, then just keep working. And if you want to talk to us about why.
Right.
So yeah, and they have little. They give you stripes as well for each belt. So
interim, right?
Yeah. So there's just that little bit of a reward system, but again, it's not something that a lot of people worry about. But if you're training a lot, it's not something you're not looking for stripes, but some people are.
It's really for yourself, right? I think that's the main thing.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. I mean, I see a lot of black belts, very, very good. They compete at an excellent level.
Yeah.
But there are those who are basically not that strong. So
yeah. It's like I said, if you stop and you have a break, then you lose a lot. It's really got to be consistent, and everybody's learning at different speeds. Then people might focus on one move, and that's their game plan. So some people might focus on being on the ground a lot and on their back or on their side and fighting from there. Especially at our age, it's all about what we call the top game. So being on top and trying to put pressure down on them. Because on the bottom is a lot of energy if you're trying to push someone off you all the time and keep them at distance.
Right.
So yeah, there's lots of different little aspects that your belt doesn't really describe where you are all the time, right?
Right, of course. So assuming that people who just want to learn how to self-defend themselves, are there easy ways or things that maybe we can just learn a few moves and or is something that is not so easy? You really need to spend a lot of time before you can, be confident to defend yourself.
Yeah, I think you need to spend a little bit of time. You're not going to pick it up in a month. Anyway, my coach always says the best defense is run as fast as you can. I guess you see sometimes in the news someone with a mental issue and somebody that knows jiu-jitsu has grabbed them and put them in a chokehold and held them until somebody can calm. And then as far as kids go and bullies, it definitely helps if you know some moves to put the other kid down. And like I said, it's more a defensive art that way compared to boxing, for example.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't hurt, but you would want to do it for more than 6 months to get those moves and do a lot of rolling and practice it. Yeah, I guess everyone's different as well. 16-year-old kids pick it up so quick and compared to me, for example.
Right. I think it's similar to some other form of martial arts as well, right? I mean, people say, you watch YouTube and then 10 minutes, how to survive in a street fight. In a street fight. So everything is so unpredictable, So
that's right, yeah. No, that's what I tell my kids. The best thing you can learn is like my coach says, is to run fast, and then how to dodge punches is very important, right? Be able to move. So you're knowing those moves does help. When we start on our feet, there is a little bit of that. It's almost like boxing, but obviously we start grabbing pretty quick. But there's a little bit of movement and watching what the other guy's going to do and try and react a little bit. So it would help. But it's not like I would be confident about defending myself if someone had a knife, for example.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that sort of defense that you're learning.
That is great, you being so honest and candid. That's true. People may have a lot of misconception.
Yeah.
But sometimes, a lot of times, in the real situation, there's so many unpredictable. I mean, as you say, if you thought somebody have a knife or a gun or something like that, no matter how good you are, you can't defend yourself,
Yeah, I watched some YouTube, and the coach was talking about getting to the ground, and a year later that same coach was saying, don't get him to the ground because someone's going to have a gun, in the US, for example.
Right.
So it comes down to, of course, if it's one-on-one, it's fine, but as a defensive form, but otherwise, you really have to get out of it.
Yes.
I think the other thing I'd say to my kids who are learning it is it will just, when you know that you can defend yourself and if somebody is wanting to pick a fight with you, that ego part of you can control a bit better as well. So you're better off, you can walk away knowing that without your ego saying, why didn't I just grab that guy and beat him up sort of thing, right? It's like you walk away saying, no, it's fine. I know I'll control that guy if I want to.
Yes.
But it's not worth it. And who knows what else will happen and whether he's got a friend over there and things like that. It gives you the character to walk away, I think. I like that part of it.
I think that's very important. Well, I haven't been in that kind of situation many times, but sometimes when you are in a heated moment, so sometimes you feel, I want to get involved or something like that. But having this calmness and then, self-confidence and say, okay, well, all right. I mean, he might be a bit of a nutcase, but, no point of getting involved,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it is rare to come across it in Hong Kong. It's a little bit more common in Australia to have in a bar or a pub or something.
I see.
But not common.
No.
And it's really about de-escalating and having like you said, the confidence to be able to do that.
Yes. And then your journey starting from learning and then getting interested, and from that you start competing, right? And from that period to become a champion, how long did it take you, and what's the process like?
Yeah, so my first competition was as a white belt, and went to Thailand. And so that was just to try it and see what it was like. And it was pretty much a big failure. But I still medaled because there wasn't enough competitors. So I still got a good picture.
Yeah.
But again, it was against younger and bigger guys. So I wasn't upset or anything. And then the coaches just kept encouraging me. So as a blue belt, I think I just kept training more and more. So obviously got better, and then... So the coaches just kept encouraging me to join it's called the IBJJF, so the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation competition. So that's what, like I said before, they have masters up to Masters 7. So I started training a lot more for that with their encouragement. So with training for a competition, you start training more, and then people that are on the same level as you, or maybe better, of course, a lot of them, and you're rolling with them, you suddenly start matching them a little bit more, going a little bit longer before they submit you, make you tap. And then, the encouragement's there because you can feel the change. And then people start saying, you're getting much better, and you can see the change. So the encouragement was there from not just the coaches, but other people. What was the question exactly?
I forgot.
What was it like to start training for competition?
From competition, yeah.
Yeah, I guess in my head I never really thought I would get there. To get there would have been a win. Which my coaches were a little bit worried, I think, about my attitude, saying to get there is enough.
Yes.
But it was just my way of dealing with the anxiety, I guess, of competing on a stage like that. Yeah. It was just to say, I'll be happy if I get there.
Right.
And also, of course, happy if I don't get embarrassed and submit it in the first 30 seconds. And it does change the way you train, though. So you start training for the competition. So we watched videos of people my age that competed before. We saw that there's a lot of walking around trying to get the other guy down. So we worked on how to not go down, basically, and stay on my feet.
I see, yeah.
And on how to take them down. So we worked a lot on takedowns. Hours and hours of just practicing takedowns.
So does BJJ, in terms of the key benefits you feel you get from BJJ, what would be the key benefits you think you gain from practicing BJJ for so long?
The key benefit is just knowing that with discipline and repetition and not stopping and not giving up, just how far you can go. That's for me. That's changed my thinking a lot. You almost feel like, there's nothing you can't do once you've done that. If you have the time, the opportunity, and the people around you that can help you get there, it feels like there's almost nothing can stop you. So that's the benefit for me of what I've done.
I would like to know a lot more about the competition you did at the Wells. It must be fascinating. Can you walk us through, this process?
Sure, yeah. It's in Las Vegas every year. Yes. And it's the biggest competition for masters. It's called the Welts. It was in the convention center, and there's a lot of competitors, of course. First of all, it's very intimidating because it seems like everybody looks like a professional athlete almost. They have coaches, and the Brazilians are all there, and they start chanting when their guy is fighting. It's sort of, you walk in and you just think, what am I doing here? This I don't really belong. Well, my coach was there and another competitor from our gym, Howard, and so just to find them and start chatting. And then my coach, of course, Rodrigo, he knows a lot of people. So you start to settle down a bit and try not to think about what's coming up. It's quite fascinating going in there. I think it's probably about 50 mats, and so 50 matches going on at a time.
Wow.
So there's a lot to watch and a lot to see, and there's a lot of people. So then your time comes, and they put you in a little area called the pit where you get ready to fight. So everybody's a little bit different in there. You've got some people who look like they're meditating, and then you've got other people with headphones on, walking around, pumping themselves up. So a little bit of both. I just lied down and listened to Tool.
Uh-huh.
I love Tool. Stinkfist was my fight song, I call it.
Right.
So I was listening to that, and then, you're sort of looking around who's your competitor and trying to pick. The first competitor I had was a guy from Japan. There was no information on him that I could find, so I think he was new to competing at IB, JJF comp, and definitely at the Worlds. So he was my first fight, and there were 7 of us in our bracket. So that meant if I won my first fight, that meant I would podium, because 7 guys, the number 1 ranked guy, he had a bye. And then, so 6 of us were at 3 matches. So that would leave only 4 people left after the first round. So that's first, second, and equal third. We'll get a medal. So I was just focusing on trying to win that first fight. And that, to me, was going to be my next little win, would be to get on the podium at Worlds would be something amazing.
Right.
So that fight went really well, actually. I think he was a relatively new blue belt and first time to compete at something like that. Whereas I'd been a blue belt for 2 years. And so I was a little bit advantaged, and so I got him down pretty quick and then kept on top of him for the rest of the match and just made sure I didn't make any mistakes and just watched the clock. And my coach was there. He's very excited, Brazilian. He's screaming a lot of things at me, and it was great, though. It was so when I won that, I just felt so good, because I thought, well, nothing else matters now. I'm going to get a medal. It's fantastic. So just the second match, so you go back to your pit and you wait probably another 10, 15 minutes. Then you go back out for your second match. And the second match was against someone a lot more experienced. And I'd seen that I think he fought in other IBJF competitions, so he was definitely more skilled. Neither of us could get the other one down. So we spent 5 minutes of the whole 5 minutes walking around trying to get each other on the ground, getting more and more desperate as the time was running out, trying to get points, because you get 2 points for a takedown.
I see.
And then there's other points from there. And then submission is, like I said, when you tap. So, there's not a lot of matches are won by submissions. The reason I got awarded that match was just I was a little bit more aggressive at trying to take him down. And I had no idea, to be honest, that was going to win me the match. So at the end, I'm like, I have no idea who won, and lifted my arm. And my coach had to tell me. Actually, when I tried a couple of moves, and I heard my coach get very excited, and I thought, that must help me win the match, maybe. So I did it again and again, and then every time I did it, my coach got more excited. So I knew that must be something that good, but I had no idea why until after.
I see.
So I won that. Just like that was a very big battle. So then I knew I was at least coming second.
I see.
So then my main match was against a guy that I fought earlier in the year in a North American competition, and he beat me very easily. And that was part of my motivation, was to come back and give this guy at least a good match this time. So a lot of my training was thinking, I wonder how much training this guy's doing, and maybe I got to do more. So it's a bit like Mike Tyson, where he says, if my competitor's getting up at 4 a.m., I'm getting up at 3. So there was sort of that little bit was in my mind. Anyway, this was a very similar match to my second match, where neither of us could get the other one down. And we spent the whole time just trying to get each other down. And so there was about a minute left, and the ref will separate you every now and then, saying that it's not going anywhere. We need to start again, guys. Anyway, he separated us, and I could see this look of desperation in this guy's eye, because he came second last year as well. And he was unlucky to lose the year before. Anyway, he come running at me, basically, and I dropped my head down to try and get lower, and our heads clashed, and he hit me right there.
Oh, yeah.
And so he opened me up, and I started bleeding, and again, I had no idea whether they were going to stop the match or not. And anyway, the medics came running out, and they said, how do you feel? And I was okay, but I was bleeding a lot. So they said, how much longer in the match? I said, less than a minute. I still got a chance to win, so just patch it. They just put a bandage around my head. It looked a little bit like a pirate. And went back out. My coach was just giving me so much encouragement. And again, I just went for that leg and trying to get him down, and that was enough to win me the actual title. So it wasn't a beautiful submission or any fantastic, glorious way to win, but I still won by technique and strength and knowledge, I guess. That was good.
Oh.
So then the feeling of walking around afterwards with a gold medal around your neck is really amazing.
Right, of course, yes.
And I kept bleeding for a while, so I was talking to people and blood was dripping down my face, but I had that gold medal, so everybody's encouraged, congratulating you and saying, well done. And anyway, I went to the medic and asked them to stitch me up, or if I needed it, and he said, no, cut's not that bad, you'll be okay. but it kept bleeding. So I went back, and so he said, "Okay, I'll put some stitches in it." And
I
when
see.
he was stitching me, then Jacob Stitch Duran, he's quite the famous cut man from UFC, walked over and started chatting to us. And he was being followed by about 20 guys wanting a
Right.
selfie. So that was a fun fact, I guess, was I got to meet Jacob Stitch Duran.
I see. Yeah. Wow, what an amazing story. I think this is quite a lot of inspiration, what you just said. Sometimes you just try your very best, right? And
Yeah.
then stay calm. And then sometimes you can achieve something amazing without you ever dream of, So,
Yeah, staying calm is quite difficult. I watched an Instagram reel of Simone, the swimmer, famous Hong Kong swimmer,
Yes.
with her technique, using her hand, running her thumb up and down her finger,
yes.
just to bring her focus back to where she's diving in.
Yes, yes.
And I use that, actually, to bring my focus back to myself and not think about anything
Yes.
other than what was in front of me.
Right.
So that was good. Yeah, staying calm is not easy.
Not easy at all, yeah. I mean, that's a technique that I might try to use. For me, sometimes I just do breathing,
Oh, yeah.
Just, just be willing to have appropriate breathing and just
Mm-hmm.
also positive self-talk. I haven't been to your same level of competition, but I did
Yeah.
compete a little bit.
Sure.
And a lot of times it's just so nerving,
It's very nerving.
Yeah, nerving.
Yeah, but I always say, I don't think it compares to getting in a cage and doing UFC.
No.
But someone's really trying to knock you out.
Right.
I can't imagine how the anxiety I would feel if I had to do that.
No.
So I have enough anxiety getting on the mat and doing jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, not for everybody. I mean, sometimes I feel that if I'm getting younger, will I ever do Muay Thai? But I think the risk level is so high. I mean,
Yeah.
is it really worth it? That's also a question you ask yourself. You are truly an inspiration for me, because I think the reason I sort of noticed is that I say, well, somebody who a world champion at that age,
Yes.
and it's a physical fighting,
Yeah,
sport. So
it's intense.
that's why I want to come and interview you. Are there things you'd like to ask me, or anything you'd like to share to the audience?
Well, of course, I'd like to shout out to my coaches. So Rodrigo Cabral is the owner of Espada,
Okay.
where I train, and he's Brazilian. He's a world champion as well.
I see.
So he's a lot of inspiration to all of us, and he competes a lot, and he's an amazing human being. The amount of pain that he puts himself through is quite amazing to watch.
I see.
So sometimes you get a little injury, and it's like my toe is hurting at the moment, but I don't want to tell him my toe hurts, because he'll be training with a broken wrist, for example. There's a lot of motivation and inspiration come from him. And then the guy that trained me most was Nosh Khan. So he's a black belt as well, and he trained under Rodrigo. So yeah, he spent the most time with me. We spent a lot of time together, very close.
I see.
And he makes it fun. He's constantly making little jokes. We talk a lot of rubbish, basically. But we have a pretty similar sense of humour, so we get through it. And then there was another coach that is called Diego, and he's only 68 kilo, but he's the strongest 68 kilo you'll ever see.
I see.
And he's got a lot of, he's a judo black belt as well, so he's had a lot of techniques to teach me as well. And so sometimes all three would join in. One would be coaching, and the other two would be watching, and they'd all help. So it was a real lot of help there from these guys, especially once they knew I was going to compete in worlds. So they really gave me a lot of their time.
Can you apply some judo techniques to jiu-jitsu?
Oh, yeah.
You can?
Yeah, the takedowns, some of the names of takedowns come from judo. And,
Yeah, I mean the Kimura lock, right?
Kimura,
I mean the armband lock, right?
Salagari and these types of moves are
yes, I think that's
judo-based.
Because it actually originally, in a way, comes from judo, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Or from who introduced it into Brazil, right? As far as I could know. So, all right, to recap, I think thanks, Anthony, for accepting my invitation. I got a lot of inspiration from you, and I think from my personal insights is that if you put your mind to it and you want to work hard and then focus with the right kind of support and the right coach, nothing is
anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
And I wish you all the best in August, right? And then I'll see another world champion.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to come back.
You come back. And then I will invite you again, to
That'd be
share
great.
the story, yeah.
Well, hopefully I'll see you at Espada on the mats. Come train.
I will actually come to think of it. I think I will definitely get in touch with you. And I think that it might be, as I get to learn, because I've done many different type of martial arts, but I think BJJ is something which I think will be my ultimate goal. That I will be something that I say, okay, I gone through different types of martial arts. So once again, Anthony, Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, who are listening. And if you're interested, to give us a like or subscribe. And then, more importantly, give me your comments, the type of speakers you would like me to invite. And then I'll try to do my best. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.